not often that AOC comes out and, you know, speaks against the president in particular, the sitting president. I mean, Joe Biden. So when we're talking about lesser of two evil from the standpoint of immigration, is there a lesser of two evil? And if you had to pick, I would say Joe Biden is worse. More funding to ICE, deportations are up. And now that he's talking about what you see on the screen, and this is CNN reporting, President Biden is considering executive action to restrict migrants seeking asylum at the U.S.-Mexico border, sources tell CNN. And that was the headline. And this is not, it's new that he's trying to do an executive order. What's not new is his rightward sort of push on immigration, since his polling is devastating when it comes to immigration. But it's largely because of the Southern strategy. It's largely putting fear into the larger sort of white population that have driven these numbers on immigration to where they are. But let's look at AOC's reaction to this. This is what AOC says here. And I'm going to read her tweet. And she says, doing Trump impressions isn't how we beat Trump. Let me put this down a little bit. Seeking asylum is a legal right. Seeking asylum is a legal right of all people. In the face of authoritarian threat, we should not buckle on our principles. We should commit to them. The mere suggestion is outrageous, and the president should refuse to sign it. Now, there's a couple of things I want to say just right off from her tweet. Why would he refuse to sign an executive order that he is initiating? This is not legislation that he's coming up that he can veto. So even in the critique of his, is like an unbelievable thing that she's putting in instead of saying, you know what I mean? She's not giving the right depiction. He should refuse to sign an executive order that he's initiating. Just doesn't make sense. But this part is correct where she says the mere suggestion is outrageous, but the mere suggestion is happening. AOC and Social Democrats. So when we're talking about Social Democrats aligning themselves with the Democratic Party, this is the result of long-standing sort of positions that no one would think as a left sort of party that you project that's the Democratic Party projecting as being for immigration. The people who have been teaming up with you on immigration did not sign up for this. Just like the Sunrise Movement didn't sign up for you giving out all of these, drilling permits. They didn't sign up for this, but this is what they're having their immigration sort of adjacent people like an AOC have to swallow. It's to swallow this rightward push on immigration. But go ahead, Kit. She's not the only one.
The thing is, AOC is going to have to swallow this, and it's a horrible choice of words. But she's the one who decided to endorse Joe Biden right off the bat as soon as he made his announcement that he was running for re-election. She's the one that said that Biden is exceeding expectations and that it's important for us to support Biden. And now what? She's shocked that Biden is doing a click copy paste of Donald Trump, one of Donald Trump's policies. He's been doing that throughout his entire presidency, both foreign and domestic. Nothing changed. Those kids in cages, Donald Trump found those kids in cages as soon as Obama and Biden were done with their 2 terms in the White House. So all this stuff of, acting like Trump isn't how we're going to defeat Trump. Trump isn't the problem, AOC. The problem is that the policies were being implemented by both Democratic and, yes, Republican lawmakers. And you're acting shocked that somehow there's this, that Biden and his administration are acting like this. You're putting on a show. You're unable to take any kind of personal responsibility. She is someone who has sheepdogged a lot of people into the Democratic Party by making all of us think that she's going to be the one to bring in change, even though when she's confronted with criticism, when she is challenged, she will quickly deflect and say that this is violence, that we're being misogynist, that we're being sexist, that we're not treating her with respect. AOC, you went all in for Biden. You said that he was exceeding expectations. This is your dog that you bet everything on. You're going to have to own it and live up with it. So you posting all this stuff is an insult to our intelligence. You posting this crap on social media, AOC, and you're supposed to get a reaction like, oh, yeah, do we need to be rougher on Biden? Do we need to be harder on Biden? Do we need to have a real conversation with Biden? He's not going to listen, and he's not going to freaking remember. This is an absolute joke. The fact that anyone ever once took AOC seriously is something that we're all going to have to live with. I mean, I was impressed when she won in 2018. If I had known even a fraction of how much of a hack fraud failure she would be, I would have said we got to break away from the Democratic Party way earlier on in 2018, because this is an insult. She's saying, like, oh, we got, like, how dare you, Biden, do this? This is what Trump would do. Biden and the Democrats have been doing this for decades, long before Trump ever even ascended to the presidency.
Go
ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah,
Anthony.
I just want to emphasize something that Kit just said. Because I too was very moved watching AOC's reaction the night she won the first time. And for Kit to say, had I known she would have been this much of a fraud, I would have left the Democratic Party much sooner.
Yeah.
This is how the Democrats keep leftists, worker-centered folks from establishing any sort of momentum outside the party. They keep giving us these little Trojan horses. And the thing is, you can only keep a lie up for so long. More and more people are talking about it. I heard a student on one of the campuses I work at say, you know what? When I voted in 2016, that was my first election, I voted for Hillary. Because, I'm pro-choice. I felt like I'm a Democrat. And I didn't look into her history. And I thought, hey, the first woman president. She goes, now I'm looking at it and saying, my God, I didn't know what she did in Libya. I was never told what she did in Guatemala. And what happens is they throw us these little bones, and it's not working anymore. So this is where they start to really spin their wheels and flail and turn the heat up, because when an abuser's tactics no longer work, that is the most dangerous time. Whether it's in an abusive relationship with an individual or with this party, you're seeing them flip out right now. They don't know what to do. None of their tactics are working. I mean, Biden is polling at 37% in some polls, terrible. 33%. Mm-hmm. And people ain't dumb.
Nope.
So I just think it's interesting. And, AOC, tears outside the fence for those poor kids in cages.
And she was nowhere near. That wasn't even a facility where people were being detained at when she did that. Like, no, that was all a show.
She's not even a good actor. But, here's the thing. I live in New York, so I'm not her directly constituent, but I have expertise in a few things related to trauma, sexual violence, as we've discussed, intimate partner violence, but also child abuse and neglect. I have approached her office multiple times saying, during the Biden administration, I am concerned that nobody independently is checking on the health of these kids, whether they're neglected or abused. We already know that many of them have been abused. That's already come out. Their office, I'll talk to an aide, and the aide will say, oh my God, this is really important. I'm going into a meeting with her. I'll let her know. And then we'll get back in touch with each other the next day. And this happened twice. And she said, yeah, that's not something they're really going to look at right now.
So even the aide, she don't care. She don't care about it.
She doesn't. And now the masks are off. Listen, there's a big Latino presence in her district. People are going to be pissed at this, and she knows it. So now she's looking for her own survival. She could easily be primaried, and she should be.
Yeah. No, not only that, she should be laughed out of her office in Congress. She's been nothing but a joke, nothing but a distraction. She's not a fighter. She missed her calling of actually being a actress, maybe a B-movie celebrity or something like that on the Sci-Fi Network, because I don't want to give her anything else on for any kind of big Hollywood deals, because she'll probably tank the project. All right. Sorry, that's being a little mean. I take that back. I apologize for that one. But this is a person who's had numerous opportunities to lead a movement, to bring in change, and she doesn't strike because, as Anthony pointed out, as I pointed out before, she doesn't care. You think she cares about the kids in cages? You think she cares about women's rights or women's reproductive rights? She put on a whole fake show of her being arrested. Oh, put the handcuffs on me, and there were no handcuffs on her. She is not a serious person. AOC is not a serious politician. She should not be treated with any kind of seriousness whatsoever. Zero respect, because it's all nothing but show. It is nothing but a facade, smoke and mirrors for us to feel good. And looking back at 2018, it was one hell of a show, one hell of an intro, but now the story's getting stale.
I wonder if either of you have seen the video I'm going to show. It's a pretty new video from AOC when she was on Alex Wagner last night talking about this very part. So I'm going to get to that video because I'm just based on what both of you have said. I don't think you've seen this video. Okay. But let me just read a couple of more tweets here, just a reaction to what Biden is doing, because it wasn't just AOC that called him out. You had Pramila Jayapal also say, this would be an extremely disappointing mistake. Cruel enforcement only policies have been tried for 30 years and simply do not work. Democrats cannot continue to take pages out of Donald Trump and Stephen Miller's playbook. We need to lead with dignity. So at least both of them are making the comparison to Donald Trump, which is, I guess that is your harshest criticism in this day and age, in this liberal space right now. Let's read a couple of more reactions. Of course, Nick had a reaction. He says, are you telling me that pushing Biden left didn't work? That was his response to AOC. But I love this one too. This is from, I don't know who this person is, but shout out to Stephanie here. She says the person doing a Nancy Pelosi impression. I thought that was classic, because that is spot on what she's doing. And now let's get to the clip that I spoke of, and I hope, and I'm assuming both of you haven't seen this clip. I'm gonna bring it up on YouTube actually, and because what's crazy about all of this immigration talk is what AOC is advocating in this clip right here. She's advocating, because you would think, because they try to present this as, oh, Republicans want to force kids to work. They passed a law, which is terrible. But AOC says, no. We don't want the kids to be exploited. Let's instead exploit immigrants. That's her whole framing for this freaking segment.
Oh, I got
that we should be exploiting immigrants instead of exploiting kids. So let's listen to this.
Republicans all over the country, including last night in Kentucky, are voting to roll back child labor laws, calling it a thoughtful solution to get more workers back in the workforce. At the same time, they're blocking immigration reform that could give adult migrants the opportunity to fill those vacant jobs, many of them in dangerous industries. We're back with Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, Democrat from the great New York. It's great to see you. Thank you for staying extra long on Friday night. I wonder what you think the sort of ethical, moral calculation here is to say, shut the borders down, as these Republicans fully and well know they need a workforce, probably of migrants, to work in these really degrading, dehumanizing, dangerous jobs in places like slaughter.
Listen to
Okay.
what she describes here.
Yeah. Get know what it is. What it is.
Listen to that. She is talking.
What?
She's describing deplorable conditions, and the asylum seekers. Who cares that they're fleeing sort of retribution? They're fleeing war.
Mhm.
She's saying, why aren't we opening up asylums so we can exploit these workers and have these workers work these terrible jobs? And they're
Yep.
presenting this as a good thing. Go ahead.
Just
Just crazy.
Here, you know, if we want to cut through the filter noise, because this is corporate media being polite, you know what she's saying? How can we treat these migrants like slaves and have them do the work that us
Yes.
higher echelon people? Get back to work, peasants. Get back to work, you servants. Get back to work, slaves, so that you could be touching the shite or being exposed to dangerous chemicals or asbestos or anything else that's out there. That is what is being presented, and liberals will eat it up and say, yeah, we should put these migrants here. It's not great work, but at least they'll be there doing the jobs that we don't want to do. Just like what was brought in the View a long time ago in 2016. Who was it? I think it was one of Osborne's kids who said, you know, you need the migrants to clean the toilets or something like that. Who was that?
I don't remember the person. I vaguely remember the comment though.
Yeah. I vaguely remember
but it
that
is
too.
coming from that same sort of positioning. What's astonishing to me is that they're just openly talking about it this way. So I don't know. I'm gonna play just the last couple of seconds again, but like just when I'm listening to this with my eyes closed, I would think that this is a conversation on Fox News. Like what is happening to our socialists for this framing to be okay to talk about immigration in this way, to talk about immigrants in this way? Astonishing to me. Maybe
because they don't believe, because people like AOC who run on emotion do not believe the things that they say. They don't believe in it. I've run into my fair share of activists who are hypocrites, who don't believe in any aspect of social justice or anything that they protested for. They're all a lot of them are just frauds. Okay, you see more passion in people who are in the World Wrestling Entertainment than you see from these activists and politicians and careers.
Thank you for staying extra long on Friday night. I wonder what you think the sort of ethical, moral calculation here is to say, shut the borders down, as these Republicans fully and well know they need a workforce, probably of migrants, to work in these really degrading.
Why would she say probably of migrants unless you're saying you need workers? You would say probably of migrants because you need workers who have no rights. That is what she's admitting right here.
Mm-hmm.
Crazy.
Dehumanizing dangerous jobs in places like
I'm sorry, go ahead.
And that means also treating those workers any which way, which means even if they die in the job, oh, well, at least they're here in America being free. They don't care. They don't care about the safety of these people.
And would rather have children that are already in the country work them.
I mean, there is no ethical or moral calculation here that I think Republicans are working with. Putting the first and foremost, the amount of protections that they heap on to these places that are so dangerous, themselves operating so unethically, and making them so dangerous for any human, adult or child, to be operating in. But the idea that Republicans, in order to win an election, say we need to hermetically seal the border when they know that is economic self-sabotage to the U.S. economy. And they are saying.
So I've never heard an immigration advocate for an immigration policy in order for said immigrant to be exploited here.
This is
is crazy. That is crazy. Go ahead.
Mm-hmm.
This sadly is what we mean when we say there is no left in the Democratic Party.
Thank you.
Because if you had a real leftist position being voiced by somebody in the Democratic Party, they'd be talking about a couple of things, and not just saying, oh, we can't treat asylum seekers this way. They'd be talking about what Ronald Reagan did.
Yeah.
Forgiveness, citizenship. You're here, you're an American citizen. Amnesty. I'm not hearing any of them talk about amnesty. I'm also not hearing any of them talking about, maybe we should take some of that nearly $1 trillion we're spending on war and help prop up the economies of Mexico and Guatemala and other places where immigrants are coming from, so that they don't need to come here because their countries are rich in resources. It's just capitalism and the uneven distribution of resources which is driving them away, in addition to the political repression and violence. They're not giving a leftist perspective. A leftist perspective would be about amnesty. What they do is, and this is how the Overton window shifts constantly, right. They will let the Republicans take up the we're Neanderthals, we're crazy, we hate all the brown people, let's seal the border. Knowing, first of all, the border's never going to be sealed. It just can't be. It's physically impossible. Mm-hmm. Let them take that space up so we sound reasonable, and all we're offering is status quo. That's the best you're going to get. And by the way, Biden is to the right of that. They're not saying anything about amnesty. They're not saying anything about how corporate capitalism is destroying the infrastructure of these countries and forcing people to leave and destabilizing them. That would be a leftist voice. So people like AOC, for the for those that don't pay attention much to politics, they would say, oh, she's a leftist. What leftist policies is she espousing besides let's keep everything the way they are? The way things are right now for immigrants is terrible. So even if you keep status quo, it's still racist. It's still repressive. And they don't leave space for that other conversation. It's never discussed.
Well, and it's also important to point out that when you see these politicians, at least when they get into office, maybe there was a point where I'm being generous with this. Maybe AOC did believe in some of the things that she fought for, but as soon as you find yourself intertwined and trapped in Washington D.C., the quote from The Dark Knight resonates with me even more now. It's either you die a hero or you live long enough to see yourself become the villain. And even Nancy at one point, she fought for Medicare for all at one point. And then what happened? We get the same hagbag Nancy we see before us. And here is AOC, the click, copy, paste version of Nancy. The only difference is AOC is on the East Coast, and she ran on this whole idea of being this progressive heavyweight champion. She had people carrying water for her, and now she is part of the machine. And so her saying like, we really don't know what else to do. If she was a true leftist, she would say that both parties are deplorable, both parties are filled with scumbag politicians, and we need to have a true, real political movement in this country to restore our democracy. But she's not going to do it because she likes where she's at. She's comfortable. She wants to go to the next Met Gala event to be Cat Fancy.
Yeah. You know what, though, Kit? I think you're being unfair. She wore a tax the rich dress.
You're right. You're right. God damn it. You got me there.
Here's the thing.
That she didn't even pay for. Remember, it came out that she didn't pay for when the investigation came, and she had to.
Shoot, I wish I had a nice suit and tie. Someone would pay for me to wear. I'd be like, oh yeah, look at me.
Yeah, check into the person who designed that dress. She's an interesting woman who's got some interesting connections. So that's a whole other thing. But, at that Met Gala, there were protesters outside. And they were protesting, I believe, inequality in New York as well as police brutality. If I were the representative in Congress and I was invited to the Met Gala, I would show up in a tax the rich dress. I'm serious. But then I would go outside and be like, sorry, folks, I got to go be with my constituents outside. Like
Mm.
Oh, that'd
that's
be crazy. That'd be crazy. If she did
That'd
that.
be crazy.
and by the way, I would look good in that dress. But that's how we had politicians like that. And there was a guy I was reading about in the early 70s. He was assassinated, Allard Lowenstein. And, he was radical. These people, there were folks who did stuff like that. And now Joe Biden stands for 15 minutes on a picket line. Granted, it's the first time a president's done it, but we think that means he's pro-labor. Listen, there's nobody on the left in the Democratic Party. And here's the thing that they always do. They call us when we fight for Medicare for all. When we talk about amnesty, they're like, "Oh, you're right wing." What? That's not MAGA. That's the opposite of MAGA. You're more adjacent to MAGA, you folks in the Democratic Party, than you think you are.
I've had a few Trump supporters reach out to me. Like, again, not like, just saying like, hey, we need to do something about migration. But they say like, how come the Democrats aren't fighting for, I had a few of them, just reach out and say, AOC and these Democrats, they're not fighting as hard as I thought they would on immigration rights or everything else, especially what's happening in sanctuary cities. It was more of not like, ha, ha, ha. It's more of, hey, why aren't they acting like the way they're supposed to act? Like, it's more of a question of, is this system really that corrupt? And it's interesting seeing that dialogue as people are witnessing AOC's hypocrisy right here out there in the open. That goes for everybody across the political spectrum. This is an act. I have to say, if AOC is anything, she's the perfect mimic. She knows how to mimic people's emotions and knows how to write it for as long as she can until she finds the next thing so she could shield herself from criticism.
Let's listen to some more, but to both of your points, if Donald Trump was in office making this same executive order, they will be out picketing right now and saying how racist it is.
Yeah, she'd be out there.
That's what they're, But anyway, let's listen a little more.
Seal the border when they know that is economic self-sabotage to the U.S. economy.
Amazing to see.
And they are saying, let's do it anyway. And to compensate for the negative effects, we're going to allow and throw people's kids into factories. That is what they are doing in rolling back child labor laws while being as xenophobic and anti-immigrant as they are. And while ginning up this false narrative about this being a crisis. And by the way, by then also preventing and blocking any legislation that would provide not just a path to citizenship, but a path to work papers, a path to allowing people who want to work to be paired with American businesses who need people to work. And there is not only no moral calculation, there is no economic calculation, there is no logical calculation, there is only a political calculation. And that political calculation is we are going to keep whining about it. Mm-hmm. We are going to keep pretending this is a crisis while contributing to actual problems. And then we're going to block the solution so that we can campaign on it over and over.
Isn't that the exact thing that they did with abortion? Aren't they exactly doing that with abortion right now? They sat back and watched the Republicans say, we're going to slowly take away this right over a span of 30 years. And they did nothing about it. And what's chilling now, and we're talking still about abortion, what's chilling now to me is how they're pretending they're going to do something on abortion.
Yeah.
How it is so sad that people are actually falling, not a lot, I must say, that it's not working on, the vast majority of people, but it is working on some people. But it is just astounding to me how some people are still falling for the Democrats are going to save your abortion rights after they watch that shit literally fall away. But go ahead, Kit.
What I want to add in here, maybe this is me projecting and assuming, but I'm willing to bet in some of those closed rooms with the Democrats, including people like AOC, they probably think, there's enough suckers out there that'll vote for us if we talk enough about women's rights. women's reproductive rights. I'm willing to bet that they say, there's enough triggered people who are not mentally coherent enough. I'm pretty sure that they have some choice words to say about us as voters, as citizens. If you don't think AOC isn't above that, no, she is. I'm willing to bet that, because again, the Democrats had that super majority under Obama's administration. Its first 2 years, they could have codified it, but what did Obama say? It wasn't politically expedient at the time, which is why we're at where we're at now.
He literally said, "It's not my top priority right now. I want to amp down the rhetoric." At the time, NARAL, National Abortion Rights Action League, and Planned Parenthood were not happy, and they did speak out. But of course, they dutifully supported him again in 2012, and that's how it's been going for years. They're not incompetent. They're a right-wing party. They elected and now want to re-elect a man, Joe Biden, a misogynistic pig, Joe Biden. They re-elected him and elected him, who spent his entire political career supporting the Hyde Amendment, which made it impossible and illegal for poor women to get abortions. And by the way, their rhetoric on abortion is so white, middle-class, liberal feminist. It is disgusting. I am not pro-choice. I am pro-reproductive justice. And if anybody wants to read about reproductive justice, Loretta Ross, who I've been trained by, is brilliant on this. You cannot have just access to abortion. You need reproductive justice. It's the full spectrum of what reproductive rights are for women, all women, not just comfortable brunch-going, middle-class, establishment white women. And the Democrats are not at all on their side. I'll tell you, if Trump gets elected and proposes, he's not as batshit crazy on abortion as like a DeSantis is. He's not good on it. He's horrendous. Trump is. But Trump would support like a 15-week ban, which is what they have in Europe. You can only have an abortion in the first 15 weeks, which is extremely problematic for a whole bunch of reasons. And I can see a whole bunch of Democrats going along with that. And that's the thing. They're not a left party. They are a center-right party.
Mm-hmm. Also,
on all these issues.
Also, look, I'm just going to say this again, too, because I covered the Women's March here in Chicago, all those pink pussy hat people way back in 2017. I've covered my fair share of protests. I stopped covering it, especially because they all went in front of Trump Tower. All those people are hypocrites. All these people who are saying we got to support the Democrats because they'll help out protect the woman's right to choose. The Democrats will be pro-choice and all that other stuff. All those speakers, all those leading activists, they don't believe in those words. They don't believe in the actions. What they believe in is keeping enough suckers in the system so they use the fear of Trump so that everyone can empty out their wallets for the Democratic Party. Because what happened when Roe v. Wade was finally canceled? I got an email from Mayor Lori Lightfoot when she was still in Chicago, an email from Governor J.B. Pritzker, an email from a whole other Democratic politician saying, give me $15, give us $15 so we can protect the woman's right to choose. The homeless people in front of the gas station where I get my gas at have a more decent argument for me giving me their money than the Democrats ever will. Okay? That's how crazy it is. That's how stupid these Democrats are. They're asking for money. There are panhandlers with more integrity in my city who are asking for real. Hey, I need to go across the city. I need to go to the hospital. I need money to do this. Democrats are asking for money for do nothing. All these activists don't believe in a single thing that they say, especially the ones that were protesting from 2016 through 2020. Nothing but frauds. Where are you at now?